This is a Class 5 composite video on number 27, facial. So you can see here the acid etch being dispensed around the enamel first. It's important to take the etch onto the pad or tray cover and make sure that you can express some freely so it doesn't kind of explode on the tooth. It's very dangerous, it gets all over. So you can see the enamel first and then put it onto the dentin. Figure it takes about 5 seconds to put it onto the enamel. And then at this point you time 10 seconds. And then you can see rinsing here for about 15 to 20 seconds. Pretty vigorously to remove all the blue gel, not over etching for a minute anymore. And then lightly drying and suction up all the water. Some textbooks say to kind of mop up the excess water with a microbrush. And here I'm showing you the Xeno 4. That's a prime and bond together. So that's a primer and bond together in one application. So it's a 20 to 40 second application that you rub on pretty generously here. And you can see it's kind of neat how it's evaporating into the typodont gingiva. You can see how there's the carrying agents in the primer will get down into the dentin to prime it to accept the adhesive, and it's neat to watch it on the urethane typodont, how it even goes away. Then you air thin it a little bit to prevent any puddling or pooling, and then you light cure it for 20 seconds. Important to check any times for the bonding agents. In reality, or the directions, it's not all the same. Some are vigorously scrubbed in, some are put on for 15 seconds, some are one application, so it really depends on what you're using. And then any micro-hybrid would be recommended here on a Class 5 since it polishes well. And the first increment you can see that's condensed, not the same pressure as an amalgam, but condensed very well against the axial wall. And then you can see here angling the condenser into the line angles. The axio-incisal there and the axiogingival line angles to make sure it's adapted to everywhere in the prep. There's not really retention in these kind of preps anymore, but just to make sure it's adapted to the prep. Cure it with the light shield. For the directions that your light says. I don't really say that anymore either. It's not a 40-second standard thing. It's based on your light's intensity and curing depth. And then another increment here, you can see sometimes the side of the condenser is used to adapt it to the prep very well. And what we're mindful of here is that we're trying to go for the contour. We're not just putting in one increment and keeping it flat. We're remembering that the cervical third is where the height of contour is, so we want it to be a little convex there. And then this increment is cured again. The third increment, really for demonstration's sake, I mean usually I would have probably done this in 2 increments. But it's important to see here that you really don't have to overfill. You just want your cavo surface to be met and the contour to be achieved. You don't need to put a lot of excess to cure. It's not like the excess mercury in the amalgam has to rise to the top, but you're making sure all the margins are closed. And then curing again. Checking that all the margins are closed, that there's no deficient areas. And then begin polishing. I think finishing, actually, the best thing to do on Class 5s are to get very comfortable with the discs. I'm just trying to show you here all the different positions of your hand. These soft flex discs work best wet. These are the XT ones that bend, so they're really desirable here. Some people are used to burrs, some people use white stones, diamond burrs. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things to use, but an EFTA that's new, I suggest either an enhanced disc or these sandpaper discs. Shofu makes a nice color series too. The black, purple, pink, and green. So you can see I'm just kind of adapting. If your hand is ever at an angle that seems uncomfortable, a little tip that you can turn the disc over and use it sort of upside down just so the grit gets to the tooth a little better. So the first two, the rust color one, the dark orange one, really do finishing, and like any series of polishing things, you have to finish adequately before you can expect to polish. You can't just take a shortcut and get to the last two. So here I'm showing you the Enhance disc, just to show you something else to use. I wouldn't use them both. This, if you use it, this is kind of a one-step thing a lot of offices use. It's very quick, but it's really like a pencil eraser. You can see how it's not really giving any shine. It kind of leaves a matte finish. So two tips there I would give. Some offices choose to put a little polishing paste right on that actual disc, just to save a step of changing to the Profi cup or a glaze of some kind. And that's it. Facial.